What's going on, everyone? So, Scream 6 had a new location, new destination in New York, right? And it was cool, right? They had some really nice sets, some really nice aesthetics. Like, I was glad that they didn't do like what Scream 2 did with like the college setting where they were basically on campus the entire time. Where like Scream 6, like you saw them go to like bodegas, you saw them go on the train, like you saw them go to different destinations, different places, like the park, like stuff like that. Like it was cool to kind of see them go to X, Y, and Z, and also not like go to like tourist places, right? Like let's go see, the Empire State Building. Like let's go see, they went to actual places if they lived there for some time. And that was nice. It was nice to see them kind of really utilize the setting. Well, now we know that Scream 7 is actually going to be a thing. Christopher Landon is going to be directing. And the question is, like, what are they going to do with Scream 7? Are they going to copy Scream 3 and then go to Hollywood? I pray that they don't. Like, I really hope that that's not the case. Do they stay in New York, right? Do they go back to Woodsboro? And it's like a full circle moment, right? Because this is like the conclusion of this trilogy, right? With Sam. So do they like maybe have like start in New York and then go to Woodsboro? Do they, or do they just pick it up in Woodsboro and everybody like meets up there like the Avengers? Like, how do they approach this? Well, Scream 6 supposedly, always take this stuff with a grain of salt, but supposedly there was a section of the script that wasn't used for Scream 6 in which it is relayed that the plan was to, after they took out Sam, right, you have Detective Bailey talking to Sam, talking all that stuff, and basically relays that, like, hey, we're going to take you out, and then we're going to go take care of Sidney in Seattle, right? Well, Sidney Prescott wasn't in Scream 6, which was fine. I actually thought they did a really good job of making that a quality, good movie and not needing Sidney, right? Like, it was one of those films where, like, it almost felt like if Sid was in that film, it wouldn't have made sense. So I do like that. But if this really is going to be a full circle, right, and this is like a full conclusion thing, then my guess is that they do incorporate Sid in some capacity, that Neve Campbell does return. There are talks about her, well, before the strikes and all that stuff, there were talks about her being in negotiations and having conversations about returning. So my guess is that they want her to return. Now, I don't really care either way. Although I will say, like, one, I'm not going to be upset if Sidney's in the film, as long as it makes sense, right? If she's basically just Gale's role in Scream 6, where like Scream 6 made no sense for Gale either, right? Like even the big thing that she did of discovering the clues with Jason and Greg, right? Like Detective Bailey said himself in that film, like, I was going to reveal that, but she beat us to the punch. She really is a good reporter, right? Like, so it wasn't like Gale did anything that was just so over the top significant. Like, it's like, oh man, it's only Gale Weathers. Like, if they do something like that with Sidney, I'm not going to be happy about it. But like, if they actually make it make sense, it's a full circle moment. You're kind of setting it up to where Sam and Sidney have the showdown. It's the two final girls coming together to take down the big bad boss, right? Like, cool. I'm okay with that, right? Totally fine. Like, let's do that. But if it's something where, it just doesn't add up and doesn't make sense, then I'm going to be disappointed, right? If she's just in the movie just for the sake of being in the movie, then I'm going to be disappointed, right? But if you're going to have Sidney in the film, it would make sense that maybe the setting is in Seattle. Like, I've even thrown out the idea in previous videos of like, do they put Sidney in a compromised position, right? Like, how do you tell the story, continue to build the main characters when you have so many of them, right? You got Kirby, you have Gale, she survived Chad, Mindy, Tara, Sam, and now Danny, right? So you got basically 7 characters on top of Sidney, right? Like, are you going to be able to tell a convincing story with all of these characters? But what if Sidney and her family and stuff like that are like the opening scene, right? And Kincaid gets the kids out, and it's like this thing, and Kincaid takes them, and Sidney's like, just go, just go, just go. And she ends up like getting captured, or something like that, right? And it's like this moment, or maybe they leave the opening scene on a cliffhanger where you think like, no way, they did not just kill Sidney, right? There's no way that they killed Sid, and all of the guys have to rally together. Let's assemble the Avengers to go and save Sid, right? We got to go save Iron Man, right? Like, let's go do it, right? Like, I could see that maybe being the storyline, and they have to go to Seattle to kind of rescue Sid and kind of save her, and then Sam and Sidney team up together, like I said, to take down the big bad. I could see that and like that was like Ghostface's master plan, is to get everybody involved, everyone together, and now you have this big showdown, and that's how you incorporate Sid. And you have like the opening scene, and then you have like some like a scene or two here and there where maybe she's talking to Ghostface, right? And she's like, like, you're not gonna win, like, even if you take me out. And like, you have like some dialogue scenes that are like impactful and emotional and whatever, right? Maybe you even get like an early reveal for a killer, and Sidney knows exactly who it is, right? Like, there's ways that you could kind of build on that and tell a convincing story with Nev and Sid, and kind of have her be in like a compromised position, and it kind of raises the stakes. And it's like, are they really going to kill Sidney in this movie? And I don't think they ever would, but it's like, will they kill Dewey, right? Like, I could see general audiences thinking like, oh no, like they're going to kill Sid. Where like us diehards that, understand the ins and outs, we know like they're not going to kill Sidney, right? But you could still kind of put her in compromised positions, or maybe put her in a position to where, maybe she's bleeding out and it's a race to the finish, right? Like, is she going to die before they can save her, right? And get her out of there, whatever, right? Like, you could really kind of set some interesting things up, and kind of incorporate her like through dialogue and stuff, and kind of let her kind of focus on her acting, in a sense of like, she's tied up, so she's got to like kind of, really sell the scene. And, she's in a handful of scenes, and then the heavy dose of Sidney is in the back half, like, the last 30 minutes or whatever. And it fits the story. It ties in with Scream 6. You have all the characters returning, maybe a couple die along the way, and you just have this just solid moment where everything kind of culminates into this big final showdown. I think that could be a rather interesting approach, right? Because, my guess is that there's going to be some Easter eggs in Scream 7 of Scream 3, whatever that is. I hope it's not like Sam has a long lost brother or something like that. I really hope it's not. I hope it's not like the setting is in Hollywood. I hope it's like, it's something where it's just kind of like the full, like the tie-in to Scream 3 is like, it's like the everything goes back to the beginning, right? And you could have this go all the way to the beginning, right? Like, what if you have this full circle tie-in to all 7 films, right? Because this is kind of like the Billy arc, right? The Billy era, with Sidney and Sam being Billy's daughter, and you kind of have this thing, and then maybe you have like this moment where like Sam and Sidney are in a room together, and Ghostface has it set up to where like only one of you can make it out, right? So one of you has to die. And like Sam and Sidney have to like duke it out, and one survives, but you know how that goes, right? Like, Sam walks out of the room and Sidney believes she's dead, and like maybe Sam has to stab Sidney to really sell it, and Sid's like, you gotta do it, like, come on, like, you gotta, right? And then Sam goes to fight, and Sidney shows up, and she's the hero, right? Like, there's a million ways that you could go about it, and kind of have it be full circle, have a full tie-in, have like that kind of connection between the OG Final Girl and the modern Final Girl, and then maybe even have like this intimate moment at the end, right? Like, I don't know. I'm curious to see how they approach that. But Seattle does make a lot of sense, right? Sydney's out there. We know that she's there. It would make sense that, because how do you get Sidney to show up wherever Ghostface is at, right? Like, How is she, like, is she really going to compromise her family and her life and stuff like that? She did it for Dewey. It literally took Dewey dying for her to come. She wasn't going to come or do anything, right? Like, before. And then Dewey died, and then she felt obligated. Like, are you going to kill Gale in order to get Sidney back? And even then, like, you can make an argument that Sidney wouldn't have came back for Gale just because, like, her and Gale don't have that relationship. Dewey and her did. Dewey was like her big brother. You know, she loved Dewey. But, like, her and Gale have kind of always had, like, this back and forth rocky relationship. Like, they, you know, they're brothers in arms, so to speak. And they definitely have a love for each other. But is that love to the sense of, like I'm going to risk my own life and my children and Kincaid and all that stuff to go revenge Gale? Maybe, right? Again, I think you can make an argument either way. But I think it would make more sense if the troops kind of get rallied to go save Sidney, right? It's like, and then maybe Sam has some reluctancy, right? Maybe Sam's kind of like, you know, like, no, I need to save, and Tara's kind of the one that talks her into it, right? Like, Sidney would come and save us, right? Like, you know, this isn't going to stop with her, even if they kill her. You know, you get that emotional speech or whatever, and Sam's like, you're right. Like, but I think that kind of makes more sense. Kind of have it set in Seattle where everyone's got to go to Seattle and kind of save the day. I could see that. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. How do you feel? What do you think? Whatever it is, I'd love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, follow with the bell notification, stay up to date with all things Scream, join this wonderful community, and all of our discussions. See you all in the next one.